It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Our headline this Tuesday, September 16. VP Sara Duterte showing up at the House budget hearing alone without her undersecretaries and assistant secretaries. The Office of the Vice President is seeking a 2026 spending fund of 902.8 million pesos, higher than this year's budget of 744 million pesos. Duterte also waived the House tradition of sparing top officials from direct interpellation during budget deliberations and took some questions. But that did not hold. Here's that point when the hearing had to be terminated.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Follow-up na lang po yung
I'm
personal
sorry,
po ba
I'm
ang
sorry,
lahat
in the
at
interest of time, we have to proceed.
magkano po ang ginastos ng opisina at staff? Kasi totoo po, wala daw ginastos ang Vice Presidente.
I thought we're going to accord institutional courtesy to the Office of the Vice President. Bakit po natin binabanatan? Bakit natin tatanungin?
It's already settled that we're just giving
Mr.
two
Chair,
questions from the minority. Okay?
Mr. Chair, hindi po,
5 minutes each.
Wala pong
Opo.
binabanatan
But
dito.
does
I
not
take
preclude
exception
the other members
to
from
the,
making a manifestation.
Sandali
I
lang.
take exception to the use of the term binabanatan. Nagtatanong lang po tayo rito at lihitimo naman po ang mga tanong.
Madam Chair.
So I ask the congressman
Mr. Chair, may we
withdraw
request
the
for a
comment.
suspension of
Session
the...
suspended. Hearing suspended.
Before the hearing's adjournment, Duterte addressed the questions on her travels as well.
No public funds were used for all my travels.
Wala akong ginamit para sa akin, para sa Vice President, na pera ng gobyerno para sa mga biyahe ko overseas. Ang merong charge sa Office of the Vice President ay yung security at decision yon ng Armed Forces of the Philippines kung magpapadala, ilan at kung sino.
Meantime, members of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure got down to work today. In photos sent by the Presidential Communications Office to reporters, can be seen that ICI Chair, who is retired Supreme Court Justice Andres Reyes Jr., was in a meeting with members. That's former Public Works Secretary Rogelio Singson and SGV & Co. Country Managing Partner Rosana Fajardo. ICI Special Advisor Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong also went and inspected a flood control project construction site in Bawang, La Union with Transport Secretary Vince Dizon. The palace said it welcomed bills in Congress seeking to strengthen the Independent Commission by giving it contempt powers. Press Officer Claire Castro noted that lawmakers share the President's goal of holding the right people accountable.
Ang sabi po ng Pangulo, ito'y fact-finding commission. So, di po kinakailangan talaga po na magkaroon ng power na mag-punish dun sa mga taong hindi dadalo. Pero, kung iyon po ay ibibigay sa Independent Commission ng mga mambabatas, maganda po siyang suggestion. At yan po ay welcome na welcome po sa Pangulo.
And the other stories we're watching at this hour. Malacanang says President Marcos decided to skip the UN General Assembly to focus on domestic issues. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro adds that the president is not worried about the upcoming anti-corruption rallies. Massive protests are scheduled for September 21, the same day Marcos's father declared martial law in 1972.
Vice President Sara Duterte says her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, is quote-unquote okay following their recent conversation. She said they talked about politics, flood control, and his love life as well. The Vice President added that questions about her father's competency to stand trial should be left to experts. She said this in an ambush interview after her budget hearing.
Cavite 4th District Congressman Kiko Barzaga denies claims that he is unwell. Barzaga says he has never been diagnosed with any serious mental condition. Meantime, Barzaga confirms that his bid is alive to oust Speaker Martin Romualdez. He also says that he is ready to face an ethics complaint and even lose his position if the panel finds grounds against him.
And former DPWH Bulacan district officials Henry Alcantara and Bryce Hernandez have been charged with use of falsified documents for allegedly using fake driver's licenses to enter casinos. The complaint was filed before the Parañaque Prosecutor's Office by Acting Transport Secretary Giovanni Lopez and LTO Assistant Secretary Vigor Mendoza. He said other members of the so-called BGC boys could face charges as well.
And joining us today, Storycon's resident political heckler, Raul Llamas.
Good afternoon. There's a bigger heckler here.
Where's the bigger heckler?
Manny mo.
Mr. Magato is in the house. Mr. Magato, why don't you say hello to everybody, all your fans? Hello daw, because he doesn't have a mic eh. So hello daw, sabi ni Manny Magato.
And from the Philippine Star, as always, we've got Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami.
Hi, Ami.
Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Oh, we're waiting for your ano.
Happy Tuesday.
Hindi, your usual ano.
Ayan. Oo. Chill na chill si Ami. Oh. Parang napaka-relax ng kanyang suot. Parang kwan lang siya.
Hindi na bubuong araw namin pag wala yun.
Hindi siya power dresser ngayon. No? Hindi siya power dresser. Kwan lang siya. Chill.
Chill.
Relax. No?
Oh, Ami, ano malaking star niyo today?
Yung mga binasa nyo, saka gusto nyo ibang-ibang klaseng istorya. Gusto daw ng UK ng Visiting Forces Agreement with us.
Ano, UK?
Pero yes, UK.
So ilan na nakaka-BFA sa atin, Ami? Australia, Japan,
Australia,
US, UK?
Japan yung reciprocal.
About 6.
Yun lang.
Including 6 including France, tama? 6.
Wala pa yata tayo.
Wala pa yung France, but
Pinaayos pa lang na pinag-uusapan.
Correct. They're talking, and I understand late stages na. So potentially could happen this year or next year.
But the other big story that we're watching out for is the possible. Again, I have to say
Yun nga yung nahabol ko eh. Yeah.
Possible. Ikaw
sasabi.
Possible movements in the lower chamber. Possible.
Yes.
Pero na-postpone na yung kwan ngayon.
Hapon pa namin inaabangan yan, di ba?
Na-postpone na yung session.
Hapon pa yan eh.
And the session got suspended so early, 3:30.
Yeah.
And that's highly unusual.
Panahon
on a
naman
Tuesday.
ngayon, ang daming unusual eh.
Oh, really? Yeah. That is so correct.
Pero baka bukas yung moment of truth.
Well, what are you hearing?
Mukhang
It's
iba
only
na
the
yung,
four of us here.
mukhang iba na yung
And the priest of Batulao.
mukhang iba na yung nag-aspire ngayon eh for
Oo nga
speakership.
naman, hindi naman pwede si Barsaga,
Hindi na yung
nakakayo
mga
naman.
usual suspects last week. No?
When you talk about the usual suspects, you're talking about Toby Chanco,
Benitez,
Benitez,
Chialbi.
Frasco.
Ngayon, ang pinakamalakas si Congressman Barsaga.
Yeah.
Walang mangyayari dyan.
Read his face.
Yun yung pinakamalakas.
Okay, since
Hapon pa yun.
Well, News 5.
Inaabangan din namin yung mga nangyayari sa Senate. Mukhang nag-aaway tuloy-tuloy yung away ni Senator Lacson saka si Senator Alan Peter eh.
Okay,
Diba?
sorry.
Ano bang balita mo doon?
Sorry, Ami, coming back to the House since pinost na rin ng News 5 online. News 5 sources, News 5 is our sister network. News 5 sources said mag-uusap si President Marcos and Speaker Martin Romualdez today tungkol sa liderato sa Kamara. According to News 5 sources, pinag-iisipan kung mananatili, magli-leave of absence, or tuluyang magre-resign si Romualdez bilang Speaker. Again, that's based on News 5 sources.
Parang hindi naman nila kailangan mag-usap kung mananatili eh.
Why not?
Mali mo, did you talk about Barsaga?
Kung mananatili ka, if you're staying in position, maybe you also need to talk about what you need to do, what needs to happen in order to calm all of this sentiment, all of this outrage.
Hindi mo naisip
Diba?
yun.
Wala sa kuweba yung
Kala mo, business as usual lang. But okay, if I'm staying in position, what do we need to do in order to send the right signals, right?
Mapapaliwanag ito.
So hindi siya ikukudeta, he will step down.
Kinakausap ka kung something different. Yung
Hindi siya ikukudeta, he will step down. Di ba?
Ilan sa
Mas
matunog
mas
Ilan sa matunog na pangalan lumulutang na maaaring pumalit? Congressman Faustino Boji D, na kapartido ni President Marcos sa PFP.
Federal.
Congressman Ronnie Puno at Albert Garcia mula sa National Unity Party at Congressman JJ Suarez ng Lakas CMD.
Wala yung pinakamalakas.
Sinong pinakamalas? Ito naman tayo.
Initials. Ano yung initials?
B, A,
B
Initials
R.
nga eh.
BAR?
Z, A.
Initials nga. Okay.
Hanggang doon na lang.
Wala akong kausap to, no?
Oo nga.
Pasok natin, reporter natin sa ano.
Go ahead.
Let's bring in our
Sa
News 5
House.
correspondent, si Marian Enriquez. Siguro mas matinong kausap to kasi itong kausap namin ngayon. Marian, ano balita dyan?
Oo. Maaga nga ulit nag-adjourn or nag-suspend yung session ngayong araw. 30 minutes lang nagtagal yung session. 3:30 nag-suspend na. Kapansin-pansin din kanina kung napansin po ninyo si Deputy Speaker Christine Singson Mihan, agad-agad niyang sinuspend agad. Sinabi niya session resumed. Wala pang isang korap. Binang na niya yung gavel, session suspended. Tapos matagal na wala yung, kumbaga matagal suspended. Kanina yung session up until nagkaroon lang ng, order of business, yung typical na referral of ng mga kung saan committee, dadalhin yung mga bills. And then ayun, narinig namin, nagulat kami, agad-agad, bigla na lang suspended and bukas nga ulit mag-resume ang session, 3 o'clock ng hapon. At tama nga kayo, no? Kanina may nakausap tayong source. Sinasabi nga na umalis ng Kamara ngayong araw dito premises ng House, si Speaker Martin Romualdez, kasama si Majority Leader Sandro Marcos para pumunta sa Malacanang. At ang narinig nga natin na makikipag-usap daw kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Siyempre, tungkol yan sa usapin dito nga sa liderato ng Kamara. At ayun nga, meron tayong naririnig na ang sinasabi, tatlo yung pwedeng options. Either magsistay bilang speaker daw itong si Romualdez, leave of absence, or tuluyan mag-resign. At kanina, pinakita rin nga ng isang congressman, yung isang source natin, kung ano yung under the rules ng Kamara, yung Section 14, meron doon absence or temporary incapacity. In case nga na magkaroon ng absence, yung kunyari yung speaker ay mag-leave or mawala, pansamantala, yung mga deputy speaker, mamimili sila kung sino nga sa kanila ang hihirangin muna, magiging acting speaker for the meantime. At yun na ang mangyayari. Pwede rin na mag-usap-usap nga yung bawat partido kung sino muna yung ipapalit for the meantime to assume nga yung powers or duties ng speaker.
Pero I think you might want to assume na kung sino man ang papalit kay Martin will not be there on a temporary capacity if ever nga may papalit sa kanya. Kasi that basically makes the point fruitless. Magtatanggal ka ng tao tapos maglalagay ng temporary. Di wag muna tanggalin.
Saka ngayon
Ang
lang ako
tawag nga
narinig
nila-
yan. Marian, meron bang ano yan? Ang alam ko ba, pwede lang
Wala
mag-leave
pang
na ganyan
presidente.
and someone will take over. Kung halimbawa magbabakasyon or something yung nagkasakit, doon lang pwede. Hindi dahil sa ganitong nagkakagulo, magli-leave ka. Ngayon lang ako
Tinitingnan
nakarinig
nga
ng
natin,
ganyan.
Yes, unprecedented ito. Tinitingnan din natin kung ano ba yung mga grounds para rito, no? Kasi may isa tayong congressman nakausap, nangyari na ba ito before? Hindi pa naman daw. Tinanong natin ano ba yung mga rason kung napapayagan para nga pagbigyan itong absence or temporary incapacity. Sa ngayon ay hindi pa rin nila masabi kasi walang specific reasons na sinight nga dito sa House Rules. Pero yun yung aabangan pa natin sa mga susunod na araw. At tama nga kayo, may 4 na matunog na pangalang lumulutang dito nga na sinasabing maaaring either papalit, tuluyang papalit kay Speaker o hahalili lang muna sa kanya. So yun nga, yung mga nabanggit nyo, kapartido mismo ni Pangulong Marcos sa federal, si Isabela, taga Isabela po, si Congressman Boji D, yung Senior Deputy Speaker, taga Lakas CMD naman, kapartido ni Speaker Romualdez, si Congressman JJ Suarez. At gayon din, yung dalawang taga National Unity Party, matunog din daw pong pangalan na Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno at si Vice Chair APRO Albert Garcia.
Okay, pero
Marian,
Mayan,
hindi
ano
mo
yung
nakausap kahit kailan siya, no? Si Speaker. Kasi simula nung nagkagulo rito, parang hindi ko yata siya nakikipag-usap sa media.
Hindi nga,
Did
hindi
you ever
natin
talk
siya
to him?
we have been trying to reach out doon sa kanyang opisina, requesting for statements, pero wala nga tayo nakukuha. Sumasagot siya doon sa mga nagkaroon, di ba, ng pahayag or yung pagkakadawit kay Speaker ng mga diskaya doon sa Senate hearing. Sumagot siya doon pero via statement lamang na pinadala ng kanyang opisina. Nakikita natin yung ilang mga pag-meeting or pulong ng Speaker doon sa iba't ibang leaders, chairperson, kunyari kahapon ng bawat komite, nakita natin yon. Kanina mga women naman, mga chair din o mga pinunong congresswomen ng House ay nakipagpulong din siya. So sunod-sunod yung pakikipagpulong ng Speaker sa bawat leaders dito sa Kamara.
This is the second time actually. Yesterday was the second time. Tapos before that, late last week, di ba, meron din siyang, he met with the party leaders, the leaders of the major political parties. And akala din natin at that time that something was going on because the party leaders were seen entering his chambers, right? So we thought something was up. But Marian, can you clarify one thing for me? Sino ba ang senior deputy speaker? Is it just one? Is it Congressman J.J. Suarez? That's it?
Yes, tama ka dyan, Regina. Okay. Isa lamang, yung senior deputy speaker, si Quezon Representative J.J. Suarez. Siya lang yung nag-iisang senior deputy speaker. Tapos may nasa 9 yata or ganon na mga deputy speakers.
Because I think in the previous Congress, if I remember correctly, there were a number of senior deputy speakers or no? Or iisa lang? Maraming deputy speakers, yeah.
Isa lang ang senior.
Oh.
May panahon na
Usually isa lang.
25, may panahon na less than 10.
Dati, a third of the
Isa lang ang
Congress was
senior. Maraming deputy speaker.
Unang nagkaroon ng naiintindihan ko senior deputy speaker, si dating President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, naging senior deputy speaker siya, na-demote to deputy speaker, and then nawala na siya ng posisyon. Tapos yung last Congress is si Aurelio Gonzalez, yung senior deputy speaker,
Congressman Dong Gonzalez, who has also, I think, been implicated in this flood control mess. No, there have been some reports that he may be linked to some.
No, his family owns DM Gonzalez Construction, which is
that was proven to have had government contracts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
In fact, the daughter was listed as one of the 5
incorporators.
Legislators who are one of the 5 legislators have direct links to contracting companies of government. And also the vice chairman of the Public Works Committee.
Oh, so what about si Congressman Dong Gonzalez, Marian? Have you seen him at all? Of course, everybody's looking for Congressman Zaldi Ko, whom we know is in the U.S. But what about the others?
Anak nata ni Dong yung nakaupo.
Hindi na siya. Okay.
Hindi pa na.
Dong is still here. Sa Manila.
Yes.
Si Saldi ang nasa labas.
Yes. Pero hindi pa natin ulit nakikita dito sa Kamara nga si dating SDS Dong Gonzalez. Pero dati, medyo active siya, no? Kung saan merong event, si speaker, kadalasan nandun din siya. Pero so far ngayon, hindi pa natin siya ulit nakikita dito sa Kamara. Lalo na nga, si Kong Zaldico, na hanggang ngayon, medyo tikom pa rin talaga. Tikom yung bibig at hindi pa rin, no-show pa rin dito sa Kamara. Simula nga nung pumutok yung tungkol sa maanomalyang mga ghost at substandard flood control projects.
Yeah.
Man, I know they don't have to give a reason for suspending the session, but did they give any reason by any chance for suspending after 30 minutes after convening it?
Yeah. We were able to talk to Deputy Speaker Singson Mihan. Tinanong ko, ma'am, ba't napakabilis naman ng session ngayon? 30 minutes lang. Sabi niya, kasi yun lang yung nasa order of business. Mag-refer lang daw sila. Yes. Oo. Referral lang daw ng mga committees or ng mga bills and resolutions saan itatakel, kaninong mga committee mapupunta. At yun lang daw. Kasi wala rin tayong nakitang mga nag-sponsor, first reading, or even nag-privilege speech. Wala rin nakasalang kanina. So napakabilis talaga. Actually, ang tagal ng suspend, mas matagal na nakasuspend yung session kesa sa nagkaroon ng referral. Oo.
And actually,
so medyo kahinahinala nga kanina We were actually preparing na something might happen. Tapos nung lalabas na tayo, pupunta na tayo, babalik na tayo sa session, biglang ang bilis nung pagkaka-interject na motion to suspend. Boom.
That was si Congressman Zia Adyong. who
On the s-
immediately
Yes.
On the
went up to the
second day of the
podium.
week, on the second day of the week, wala na silang magawa. They need to suspend na.
Meron pang isang session bukas.
ang tanong ko, Marian, ay
Yes.
yung mga unsaid, meron ka ba nararamdaman dyan na intensity? May nararamdaman ka ba dyan na
Ano yun?
drama? Yun ang yung tanong ko, yung unsaid. Usually kasi yung
The things that go unsaid.
yan, oo. Yung nararamdaman mo lang, pakiramdam mo lang, Marian.
Ano na lang,
Kita mo, nagbubulong-bulungan, no? Kita mo, nag-huddle-huddle.
ano na lang yung mood
Kita
dyan?
natin, ang kita natin dito si Kong Kiko Barzaga, ang hilig niyang mag-ikot. Tapos kanina nakikipagkwentuhan siya kay Congressman Toby Chanco. So nakita rin natin yon, yung mga nagkukumpulan. Pero yun, actually may nakausap rin tayo na talagang hindi daw nawawala yung threat doon sa speakership. At tuloy-tuloy daw yan, lalo na mula nga doon sa kampo ni na matunog din na pangalan na sinasabing magsa-challenge kay speaker sina Bacolod, Congressman Albi Benitez, yan yung grupo nila Congressman Toby Chanco. So tuloy-tuloy daw talaga yung threat at kaya talagang hindi matahimik kapag session dito nag-aabangan. So bukas, Wednesday, last day ng session for the week, titingnan natin kung may mangyayaring paggalaw. Kasi kung wala pa rin, mukhang sa susunod na linggo ulit mag-aabangan tayo dyan.
Tomorrow's the last session of the week.
Oo nga. Ay, yung mga
Marian,
magsasaka kasi.
nakakausap mo ba yan si
lumabas ka ng kuweba,
Congressman
pumunta ka
Barzaga?
sa sakahan.
Kumusta siya?
Yung
Ano
mga
ba yung,
magsasaka,
ano bang klaseng
gagano lang
tao
yung
siya?
dalili nila. Alam nila kung may bagyo eh. Alam nila kung uulan, di ba? Yung gano'n. Yan yung sinasabi ko, yung papakiramdaman mo.
Okay.
Yung gaganin mo lang, gilaan mo lang.
Something's in the air.
Wala eh.
Alam nila, ay, may bagyo May parating na bagyo.
Walang aircon.
Oo, di ba?
Uy, may LPA
Teka, si Ami, tanong mo.
Pwede Sixth sense.
Ami.
Hindi, tinatanong ko kung nakakausap ni Marian si Congressman Barzaga. Kumusta ba siya? Kasi it's strange na a congressman has to say na I am not unwell. Ano ba?
Actually,
Nakakausap mo ba siya? Ano ba siyang klaseng tao?
Actually, alam mo ba, sinubukan pa namin siyang puntahan sa kanyang opisina right after ng press ko ng National Unity Party. Nung sinabi nga nila DS Puno na maghahain sila ng ethics complaint laban dito kay Kiko Barzaga. Pinuntahan namin yung opisina niya. Medyo mukhang busy yata si Kong at may iba pang interview. Kaya humingi na lang muna kami ng statement. Alam mo ba kung anong sinabi nung kanyang staff doon, sa group chat namin? Maglalabas na lang daw muna ng interview si Kong Kiko pag siya na ang House Speaker. So, until now, kanina naman, bigla siyang nagpatawag ng media para magpa-interview. So, yun, may ibang team na kumuha sa atin ng panayam sa panig nga nito ni Kong Kiko Barzaga. Pero kahapon may mga posts din siya. Sinasabi niya nagkakamali lang daw tong si Congressman Puno. He was defending actually kung bakit ganun yung mga statement niya. No, parang kasi nga, di ba may nabanggit pa about maaaring inciting to sedition yung ginagawa niya, gusto mag-amok, kumbaga, i-invite na magkaroon ng gulo, kumbaga. So, yun, may mga, medyo ang paglilinaw nga ni Congressman Puno, tinanong natin, what do you mean by unwell? Tayo na raw tumingin. Ano bang tingin ninyo?
Yung video kasi is pressing flesh all over the floor eh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Buti walang babies yan. Hindi, pati mga babies, sinalikan niya eh.
Oo, kaya nga.
Parang, kung papanoorin mo, parang sigurado na siya.
Pero may kakampi ba siya talaga, Marian? Ano bang balita dyan? Sino bang kakampi niya?
Wala tayong masabi. Tinanong natin sino yung mga nakakausap niya. Ang sagot niya sa atin, alam mo kung ano, yun lang daw mga mahilig sa pusa. Hindi tayo makakuha masyado talaga ng detalye doon sa kung sino yung mga nakakausap niya. So, yun ang tanong.
Ronald, baka kilala mo yan. Ano ba? Mga congressman natin.
Barzaga.
Yung tatay.
Baka ano ba kilala mo
Sino
yan?
pa bang ibang mahilig sa pusa?
Oo. Pero yung present ko ngayon, ambisyon ko magkaroon din ng ganyang hairdo eh. Yung one length,
Wala na, book.
hindi umaabot eh.
Too late ka na.
Hindi umaabot eh.
Too late
Pero
ka
maganda.
na. Mag-come over ka na yan.
Hindi yung kanya, magaling yung
Actually,
tatay niya. May political sophistication.
Conversation is getting more depressing. Sige na, we'll let you go. Marian, thank you so much for your reporting. Live from the lower house, Marian Enriquez, News 5 reporting.
Thank you, Marian.
Pased na yung usapan.
Inaantay mo humaba, ano?
yung one length.
Gusto niya mayroong bangs.
Kailan pa?
One
Until
length,
when
gano'n.
do we have to wait? Hanggang kailan?
Anong kantilwen? Kantilwen.
Wala yan.
Wala na
Flood
eh.
control.
Kailangan na yan.
No flood control.
Gusto niya ng bangs? Ano ba yun?
Yung gano'n lang yung one leg. Yun yung matagal ko ng ambisyon.
Kailangan na yan na hair implant.
Tawag doon one length.
Ami, comb over na kailangan niya.
Hindi, maraming K-pop, ganyan ang style eh.
Ano?
Ganun yung style ng mga
Next
K-pop.
time, pakita tayo ng picture na may buhok ka pa.
Wala, actually, ako
Sa-
matandang gano'n
Oo.
na.
Meron. It's
Wala
from the...
Meron.
Meron.
Oh, di ba
Na-share-
nilabas mo pa?
Oo,
May
na-share
buhok
na
pa
niya
ako
eh.
noon ah. Panahon na erap.
Ay, hindi. Wala kang bangs na.
Oo nga, pero afro ko noon eh. Afro.
Afro. Okay.
Hindi appropriations ah.
Breaking news. AMLAC orders the freezing of bank accounts of personalities linked to anomalous flood control projects. Hindi pa natin alam
Hindi
sino kasama
nakaspecify.
dyan.
Sino
Hindi
kaya yun?
nakaspecify. Oo. Pero this is to be expected kasi ni-request na rin ng DOJ, no? For the AMLAC to be involved.
I wonder though,
Kapag ganyang may request, ibig sabihin meron na yung formal investigation.
kasi may listahan na
Kaya,
sila eh.
oo.
They're acting on the list already.
Yan yung mahirap
You
gawin
need
sa
to
amin
complain.
ni Kwan eh.
You need to
Paano ba to?
complain.
I-freeze yung aming bank accounts.
Yun yung task force ng DOJ. Baka yun yung task force ng DOJ. BIR, DOJ, and IMLC. Kailangan may basis yan eh.
Yeah.
Oo.
Sorry.
Or BIR ang nag-request. Baka BIR ang nag-request.
Meron din ng DOJ based on the
Ang
list
DOJ.
that Secretary Vince
It has to
Dizon...
be requested.
Oo, based on the list that Secretary Dizon forwarded. So, ito pala, more
Ombudsman,
details.
pwede rin yan.
It covers 135 bank accounts.
Sabi ah.
135. 27 insurance policies of individuals and corporations linked to this flood control mess. It was granted by the Court of Appeals on Tuesday, September 16. Following a request...
May order.
Following a request from the DPWH nga.
Mabilis yan.
May
basta tutok.
pangalan ba na officials meron
I'm
kaya?
looking for our breaking news headlines pero wala pa so far.
Kasi sigurado naman tayo sila Diskaya kasama dyan eh. And probably the DPWH officials who were
Yes.
fired.
Oo.
Pero napakaraming bank account niyan eh. Sino-sino pa kaya yung may-ari
Tingin mo,
ng iba?
Ami, kasama na diyang mga politiko?
Hindi ko alam eh.
Baka
Kasi
wala
kung
pa.
gano'n
I
karami,
doubt.
baka pati yung mga kamag-anak, mga children, di ba? Ginagamit yung mga account ng children eh. Baka kasama dyan.
Yung AMLAC last week, they already said that they're examining the financial transactions of contractors, no? So we can expect na yung
Contractor
contractors
sila.
na pinatawag sa hearings would be included in that list. And of course, as you said, Ami, yung DPWH engineers. At the very least,
Yes.
at this stage, yung sa Bulacan, the so-called BGC boys. Kasi sila din yung nasa listahan ng DPWH that they recommended charges for, right?
Ang madali kasi dyan, yung low-hanging fruit yung mga umamin na, mga umamin that they had a part in give and take. Yung mga hindi pa umamin, they can't just freeze that kasi aalma yung mga yun eh.
Hindi, pero kung may court order,
Actually,
may court order, pwede yan.
Yeah, but it's not that easy for the court to also, the court will have to hear you out first before it, and make it respond, before it can just freeze your
Hindi,
assets.
ang ombudsman, pwedeng gawin nyo, motu proprio eh.
Freeze
Wala
assets.
naman
Kahit
ombudsman
walang mga, yung ombudsman, pwedeng
Wala naman ombudsman.
orderin
Ombudsman
yan.
pwede,
Wala pa.
oo.
Pero ibig sabihin, kaya nilang orderin ng AMLA. No?
But,
Pwede ombudsman.
and also, hindi necessary na umamin na because if you take Engineer Henry Alcantara, for instance, wala naman siya inamin eh. Right? He only went so far as to say that, okay, I was negligent, I signed a lot of papers, hindi ko in-inspect yung project site. He hasn't admitted to wrongdoing. He's admitted to stepping inside the casinos, right? But he hasn't admitted to money laundering.
Sa JIL.
Oo.
Meeting daw siya. Sabi niya, nag-meeting daw sila sa JIL.
Sa JIL. Tapos meron mga pictures siya sa basketball games, 'di ba? Sa kung saan-saan, pero he hasn't admitted to any of those.
Pwede ka naman i-pray over doon.
Sa JIL. Okay.
Okay, good. Duman.
Let's see. Tingnan natin.
Sa bank account mo, Manny Mogs, di ba napi-freeze?
Iba pangalan.
Nasa pangalan ng misis niya. But Ronald, what have you been hearing about this? This thing with the speaker. Is this finally a serious attempt?
Well,
Kasi we've been hearing
kahit
for
naman yung
weeks
last
already.
week, kahit naman yung last week, serious attempt naman yun eh. Hindi lang nga nag-prosper. Tingin ko ngayon yung pinaka-serious.
What makes this one different now? Why is it more serious now?
Wala akong sinasabi na may intervention yung higher-ups. Wala akong sinasabi.
Malacanang. So may mga
Pinatawag
remedies
na
pala
nga
siya.
sa Malacanang. Anong impact niya na lang, Ronald, kung sakasakali that he will step down? Dalawa. Anong impact kung magli-leave siya, which is unprecedented,
Oo.
at kung magre-resign na lang siya as speaker?
Parang mahirap yung leave eh.
Oo nga eh.
Oo nga, hindi ba? Parang
either-
you're holding on to the position, ano?
Either mag-step down ka, na siyempre
Or
meron
you
yung
stay.
repercussions yan. Mas vulnerable ka sa mga legal cases. No? Dahil hindi ka na, hindi ka na, ano ba yung speaker? Fourth or fifth sa, sa
Fourth.
ranking
Fourth.
na president. No?
Fourth.
Kahit pa paano may protection ka niyan. No? Pero pag hindi ka na speaker, mas lulusubin ka ng mga balak magsampa sa'yo ng kaso. No? Wala ka ng protection sa iyong kapwa congressman. Kaya tingin ko baka crucial yung kanya yun. Ngayong araw, ngayong gabi.
Tsaka I've never heard of the speaker going on leave.
Yeah,
It's either you're the speaker or
ngayon
you've
lang.
been replaced.
Yes. Baka biglang
Kasi isang boto lang naman ang kailangan.
kung mag-leave ka, baka si Barsaga pumalit sa'yo dyan. Kung mag-leave ka.
I don't
Eh,
think
ang
he has
alam
the
ko lang ang
numbers.
leave niyang mga yan, yung nagkakasakit,
I don't think he has the numbers.
medyo matagal na sakit, yun lang ang pwedeng
Yeah.
leave eh. Pero if you're
Yes.
going to go on leave dahil na-iskandalo ka,
Tama.
ibang klase
That
yun,
doesn't
di
make
ba?
sense. A political leave, no?
Oo. Kaya either
Oh,
mag-step
hindi
down
pwede
ka na
yun.
talaga or palitan ka. No?
Yeah.
Magbotohan. No? Pwede kang lumaban tomorrow or pwedeng, hindi ko kasi alam, Ami, kung anong posibleng graceful exit kung sakali. No? Kung sakali.
Step down.
Switch
Kasi
roles. Siya yung maging
pati sa
senior
mga rally,
deputy
nandun na yung
speaker.
mukha niya eh.
Hindi, pero in the middle of
Pati
all
mga
this
rally, nandun na
investigation,
siya eh. Yung caricature
diba?
niya, nandun na.
In the middle of all this investigation,
Diba?
of this uproar, of this outrage, etc., people are looking for,
Heads to roll.
yung makakasuhan, makukulong, etc. No? Kaya hindi ganun kadali na ikaw ay
Hindi.
just to step down.
Kaya ko sabihin niya, to give way to an impartial investigation dahil may mga nagtuturo nga sa kanya
Kaya nga
na
nila,
there is being linked to
yes.
bakit si Saldi ko ayaw niyang pauwiin. Di ba may mga ganon?
Yes, pero yung pag-appoint kasi kay Magalong, na even before he was appointed, ay binabanatan na niya. Yung House, specifically si
Kaya nga.
Saldi at si Speaker, was a clear political statement. Was a clear writing on the wall. Diba? Paano, in spite of that, nagreklamo nga si Saldi ko, diba? Bakit lalagay yan dyan? May prejudgment na sa amin. No? Pero nilagay pa rin siya. Ibig sabihin, ay political statement yun coming from Malacanang, from the appointive powers.
Anong impact na ito kay President Marcos? Kung sakasakali mag-step down, madadagdagan ba yung kredibilidad ng kanyang initiative to crack down on corruption?
Yes, makikinabang siya in terms dun sa anti-corruption drive niya. Pero, yung kanyang political base, hindi ko pa sigurado. If no less than the speaker ay pwedeng tanggalin. Sinasabi ko pwede, hindi ko sinasabi matatanggal. Paano pa yung mga iba na members ng House, na leaders ng House? Ang sinasabi kasi ng iba, at least 80 or more congressmen ang involved dito in varying degrees. So, medyo hindi ganun kaliit yun. No? At meron kang mortal na kaaway, yung Vice President, who is publicly threatening you with impeachment herself. So, yun yung balancing act dito ng Presidente. Who can hold Congress together, no, in order to prevent the possible impeachment of the President himself before the end of his term.
That is the crux because last we heard mahirap nga to muster the numbers required to vote for a new speaker. No, not to impeach, but to vote for a new speaker. Vote a new speaker in kasi nga you're gonna need 319 ba sila? 320.
50% plus 1, so 319. Or 317 actually.
So,
Kaya nga sabi
little
ko
over
kay,
100.
kay Marian, ano bang pakiramdam mo? Ano ba yung mga, usually kasi marami diyang, wala magpapa-interview sa iyo, wala magsasabi. Pero mararamdaman mo na, there is something going on.
But, so far, halos lahat ng mga congressmen we've spoken to, they are, at least, on the face of it, they say, yeah, we're solid, we stand behind Speaker Romualdez.
Until it happens.
Yeah, until it happens.
Yeah.
What's the word that they like to use?
Yes, trust and confidence so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pero ilang beses na natin narinig yan, several changes of house leaderships. Kinabukasan, nag-iiba bigla-bigla. lahat sila nangyari na. We've seen several speakers ousted in that way.
Hindi, yung ganung statement pang Storycon. Pero yung napaltan pang headline ng Philippine Star.
Okay, we're getting more details before we go to GAP. We're getting more details about yung AMLAC freezing of bank accounts. 20 DPWH personnel ang kasama sa listahan and 5 contractors. So 25 people for now. And
That's
I guess
their families.
I guess it makes sense kasi yung easiest targets would be at this point yung government officials, right? Yung
Tawag na
DPWH
ni Ed,
officials.
low-hanging fruit.
The low-hanging fruits are the DPWH officials, especially now that Secretary Vince is there. So 20 DPWH personnel, 5 contractors, 135 bank accounts amongst them.
Ang dami
So,
Pati nga mga anak siguro yan. Mrs. anak, spouse anak.
20 and 5? 25 ba yan?
25.
25 and how many bank accounts?
135 and 27 insurance policies.
At saka baka iba-ibang bangko kasi. Di ba?
Parang 1:6 ang ratio.
Ikaw ba yung bank account?
Eh, baka iba-ibang bangko.
Okay na, mag-gap na tayo. We're gonna go for a very quick break. You're watching Storycon on One News. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay, still with us. Amy Pamintun of the Philippine Star and Ronald Llamas, a resident political pundit.
Bok, may tanong ako sa'yo. May tanong ako sa'yo. Kung sakaling mag-change ng leadership dun sa lower chamber today or tomorrow, how does that affect the rage in the streets leading up to the 21st?
Well,
Di ba, Tol?
makakabawas ng konti. Pero ang hihingiin kasi ng mga nasa kalsada, kaso, hihingiin nila ay kulong. No? Halimbawa, yung sinimulan ng DPWH, yung anong purpose niyang pag-freeze ng mga accounts? Papunta yan sa pag-file ng mga kaso. Diba? Iba-ibang klaseng kaso yan. No? Yan ba ay pwede sa mga senador? Yan ba ay pwede sa mga congressman? Leaves to be seen, di ba?
Ang huli ko nakitang may na-convict. Si Era Pata, tapos
si Jinggoy, si
Jinggoy na on appeal and overturned. He was acquitted eventually by
pero nakulong sila ng ilang taon, di ba? Si Enriles.
But what I'm saying is that si Jinggoy was convicted and then the conviction was overturned by the Sandigan Bayan on appeal. That was December of last year.
Yung plunder.
May pending siya.
Yung plunder, yung bribe tuloy. Yung bribery tuloy. Yung plunder.
Yung bribery ang na-overturn. Kasi he was convicted of bribery and then that was overturned a few months later last year.
Talaga? Paano yung plunder kasi non-bailable yun?
Yung plunder, he was acquitted.
Acquitted?
He was convicted of 1 count of direct bribery and 1 count of indirect bribery. And then on appeal, that was overturned a few months later in December 2024.
So anong meron siya ngayon?
May pending case siya ng graft.
Alam mo, you have to stop mentioning Jinggoy in the same breath as this case. Nagagalit na siya. Wala naman daw siya.
Wala nung... Ang sinasabi ko, yung huli kong natatandaan na convict ng plunder was his father.
Bakit daw...
Tapos na pardon.
Bakit daw ba siya na drag into this controversy porket sikat siya?
Hindi, may nag-testify laban sa kanya eh. Diba si Bryce sinabi, ganito.
Sabi niya, it's all lies.
Hindi, magharap sila sa korte. Diba? Iba pa yung nagsasampa sa kanya ng kaso na double life. Iba yun, no? Hindi ko alam kung magpa-file lang sa korte noon. Sabi niya, may resibo siya. Hindi ko alam kung anong resibo yun.
Matotrobo tayo nito.
Ano pa resibo yun?
Okay, ito na yung listahan ng mga na freeze assets ng DPWH. 20 of them are DPWH officials. Obviously, yung BGC boys nandyan, Henry Alcantara, Bryce Hernandez, JP Mendoza, RJ Dumasig, and isa pa. The rest, we've never heard these names, pero they have roles.
Anong position?
They have roles like OIC for maintenance section, quality assurance section, administrative section, finance section, budget unit, procurement unit, cashier. Hindi lahat engineers.
District engineers, ilan?
Hindi,
Baka si Alcantara pa lang.
mukhang si Bryce Hernandez and Alcantara pa lang.
Mukhang first district pa lang ang titingnan.
Sila pa lang.
Hindi pa napag-usapan kasi yung iba. And this is only one district of Bulacan.
And amongst the contractors, of course, sila Discayas, based on, and nakalagay dito sa order, St. Timothy Construction, although, of course, they are trying to disassociate from St. Timothy, right? Ini-insist nila Alpha and Omega lang sila.
Yung ibang mga contractors?
Wala pa dito.
15 kasi yung nilista ng Presidente.
Oo, wala pa dito. So far, it's just the biggest names, the Discayas.
Simula pa lang yan.
Sa simula pa lang. So, you're right. Also, I don't know how long yung how long the freeze is for. May what does the law say about that? Di ko alam if you can freeze it indefinitely until the case is finished.
No, that's also
may limit din yan
that's also not fair to the people who are accused.
Correct.
It's indefinite. So may fixed period of time yan. And actually that's also appealable if I understand correctly. It was a court, diba? It was the court that ordered it.
It was the Court of Appeals.
The CA.
It was the Court of
that's within
Appeals.
their,
Pero
their
hindi
jurisdiction.
sinabi how long the freeze will be for. And as Ronald says, the question is, what does it lead to? Does it lead to charges? Or may kita mo lang, okay, these are the transactions, these are the net assets.
Malamang it's a preventive freeze lang naman eh. It's not a penalty per se. It's to prevent the dissipation of assets.
Para hindi
ma-squirrel away.
maidala sa
Hindi mailipat.
Cayman Islands. No?
But remember, and I had a source, and I don't know how true this is, but somebody said may mga naglipat na. Remember that this case has been going on for weeks, right? And this is the
Yeah,
first.
that's the first thing you would do if you were, you were
That's the first.
Pero ibig sabihin, yung may trail yan. May resibo yan. Lalabas at
May
lalabas yan.
paper trail yan eh.
At pwedeng
Or
gamitin
now,
sa korte.
digital
Kahit
trail.
na itago mo na.
Pag nilipat mo na yung pera. But at least hindi na nila, let's say you move it overseas, wala na sa jurisdiction nila.
Yes.
Right?
Hindi na yan masesequester or makukuha. Pero ang sinasabi ko lang, magagamit pa rin yan sa korte. Kailangan mo ipaliwanag. Bakit
I
may
think
ganun pang...
meron tayong there's an anti-corruption convention international na pwedeng mag-cooperate sa mga parties, country territory parties. Pwede nilang ibalik yung pera kapag hiningi ng kapwa member. Hindi pa masyado natatryan dito eh.
Depende.
Several years ago yung pinasayang convention na it's binding That's legally binding convention.
Depende yan, Ami, kung nasan ka.
Anti-corruption convention.
Halimbawa, kaya nila nilipat dati sa Panama yan. Dahil yung Panama, walang ganong klaseng jurisdiction. No? Ang
Kaya
Switzerland, meron na. Kaya hindi ka na pwedeng magtago sa Switzerland.
But there's
Cayman Islands, mga
Cayman
ganun.
Islands, yung mga Caribbean
Pwede mo
na
habulin
yan.
siya ngayon, no?
Yan yung mga exempted
Kaya
o
yung
wala.
takbuhan ng mga
Kaya dyan ang takbuhan, no? Kaya yung Panama Papers, yun ang pinakita. Ang daming pera sa Panama. Yung mga maliliit na isla.
Kasama doon yung isa sa mga Marcoses.
Hindi lang, mga...
Pero yung sa convention, marami nang kasama dyan kahit siyang mga
Taipan.
maliliit eh. Kasi it's also linked to the FATF yung Anti-Money Laundering Task Force. Mahihirapan yung territory or country na maganem to do business kapag hindi ka sumali sa mga ganyan eh. And you don't cooperate. Hindi pa natin testing masyado yung convention na yun. Siguro kapag ganyan na, yun na nga, inalis dito sa atin, then we can try going after them, invoking that convention which is binding, and tignan natin how it will work.
Usually, Ami, yan yung may mga bank secrecy laws eh. No? Pag may bansa kasi na walang bank secrecy law, ibig sabihin, medyo exempted sila sa ganyan. Or wala pa silang pinapasukan na treaty. No. Kaya nga, gusto ko malaman kung ang Singapore ay kasama dyan eh. Dahil ang Singapore kasi ay may bank secrecy laws. Diba?
But they would also cooperate, I think.
Yes, they will
ibig
cooperate.
sabihin-
Tignan nyo yung nandyan sa online.
If nag-request
Convention
sila,
Against Corruption.
if nag-request tayo,
Kung
they
sino,
would cooperate.
ang dami-daming member na yan.
Pero Bok, kasi there are countries and territories that make a living, literally make a living out of being offshore tax havens.
Yes.
Or offshore financial centers. In other words, that's how they, that's their GDP source.
Pero tax haven yan eh. That's a tax haven. Iba yan sa
Hindi,
meron
marami-
mga negosyong
I mean-
ganyan. Eto, kapag meron kang corruption case in one country at in-invoke yung convention to get that money and it's labeled as dirty money, pwedeng kunin. Iba naman yung tax haven which is an instrument talaga for legitimate businesses.
I think what Ed meant is dirty money havens din, which is kapatid ng tax havens, right?
Where
There's
it's
essentially
easy for
the same
you
thing.
to...
It's the other side of it.
It's so much easier for you to create bank accounts without having to give real names and all that. Also, they have a very, very effective shielding against
Kunti na
inquiries.
yan Sige, tingnan nyo. Kuya na lang yan.
Halimbawa, yung sa Panama,
Konti
kung
na lang
walang
yan.
whistleblower, wala makakaalam. May whistleblower.
You know, and the other thing that you are assuming here is it's all in cash. Ano pa yung na-launder na money through properties, for instance, real estate? Paano na mahabol
Or
yun?
casino.
We're
Rolls
talking
Royce.
about or cars, right? The ones
Yung mga
that-
sing-sing na $1 million.
Oh, paano
Tingnan
mo,
mo.
ano ba yun?
Diba? Yung
Paano
Birkin
mo
bags.
Hindi sabi nyo kasi
Birkin
move out
bags.
eh.
Paano yung mga na-launder
No,
through...
we're talking about assets moved out of the Philippines. Hindi pa pera yun. Kasi yung bahay naman, andito lang yun. Ano pa
Hindi.
magagawa na?
They could easily buy property overseas too, right? Sino yung, remember that
May trail pa rin yun.
Remember that Rappler expose on that
Yeah.
district? I think he was also an engineer, no, he was the representative of a party list. Who's
May paper
ano yung
trail
name?
yan.
what name am I thinking of? That he had a mansion in LA. Nabasa niyo yun?
Well, what I remember are the 3 Marcos properties they bought in New York.
Yeah.
Na-contractor din siya on the side.
Party list.
Manakuha naman natin. No?
Kasama na yung Trump Tower ngayon, di ba?
Paano yung nabili mo sa ukay na Birkin bag? Kailangan mo bang i-report siya? Ukay eh.
Kaya naman yung ukay mo. Kunwari ka pa ukay.
Minsan makakakuha ka ng treasure sa ukay eh. Yung mga tinatapon yan eh. Yung mga namatay, tinatapon yan. Salvation
Yung mga estate,
Army.
ano ba?
Oo, mga ganun eh. Oo.
Kailangan mo ng resibo.
Oo, resibo kailangan.
Paano ko
kailangan mo
resibot
ng
sa
resibo.
ukay-ukay? O,
Wala
teka,
namang
pinapagod
resibo
na
yung mga
tayo.
ukay-ukay
Ano, may
na yan.
pahabol ba rin siya, no?
Reg, pupunta ka ba sa ukay? Hindi.
That's all the time we have today.
Inasagot mo.
Grabe ka naman. I didn't see that coming. But thank you for joining us on Storycon today. I'm Rico Mintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Ronald Llamas, a resident political heckler. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. We're One News all sides all the time.
Exciting tomorrow, maybe.
Maybe.
Swela sa iyo tonight.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.